There's a special night in the lives of all of us. A night to be daring. A night to be desirable. A night when we can break all the rules and make our own. It's coming to Octoberpod. Everyone is getting ready for Halloween night. It's a time for assembling costumes, putting on makeup, and making last-minute phone calls to your date for the costume party.
Hello? Is there somebody there?
Do you like classic horror stories?
Who's scaring me?
Spirits from an age gone by, speaking in the immortal tale of Frankenstein.
Even if you're too old for trick-or-treat, Edward October still has a terrifying treat for you this Halloween. The Satanic Rites of Frankenstein. This Halloween season, Octoberpod presents 4 terrifying new visions of Mary Shelley's immortal classic, Listen to the Satanic Rites of Frankenstein, a special Halloween event presented by Octoberpod AM. Your very soul may depend upon it.
Starts playing Tuesday, October 15th. Listen to Octoberpod AM on Spreaker, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts. Check local listings.
The sound you hear is an old-time radio classic. This is the start of Octoberpod. The old-time radio program Inner Sanctum Mysteries, sometimes referred to simply as Inner Sanctum, was a juggernaut of the early mid-century horror genre. The show, like Lights Out, Quiet Please, and The Shadow, is nearly synonymous with old-time radio horror, even though The Shadow and Inner Sanctum were both mystery and detective shows that were merely using the tropes and trappings of horror. Inner Sanctum, while not the first to do so, they certainly did it best, set the horror host template. Each episode opens with a creaking door, and beyond it we are greeted by the host, who cracks some ghoulishly awful jokes, usually bad puns, far cornier than the worst dad jokes you ever heard.
And that Valerie, what a dud she turned out to be. Didn't even have enough courage to step out of her grave. Confidentially, though, the reason is Valerie doesn't like to be seen in shrouds.
Before introducing the main story, and these stories were almost always Scooby-Doo mysteries that were set up as supernatural thrillers, but which almost always had a rational explanation. Though, like Scooby-Doo, these rational solutions often stretched credibility to the breaking point. The host would return after the first act to comment on the events we just heard, and then drop a few more of his ghoulish puns. It's a formula that stood the test of time, and horror hosts from the Crypt Keeper to Elvira to Count Gordeval to Svengoolie to Elvira to Jobod Briggs and Mr. Lobo all owe a debt to this unsung horror icon. The Edward October persona I've cultivated for Octoberpod, and my character the Doorman on Spine Chillers and Serial Killers, that one's even got a squeaking door, both take very deliberate inspiration from Inner Sanctum's nameless host, voiced by Raymond Johnson from 1941 to 1945, and by Paul McGrath from 1945 to 1952. It was therefore very gratifying for me to have the opportunity to play the host of Inner Sanctum for our friends at Madison On The Air. What follows is Madison On The Air's Halloween special. It's a comedic retelling of the Inner Sanctum Mysteries adaptation of Poe's The Telltale Heart, featuring yours truly as the Inner Sanctum host. This is all a bit different from our usual fare, but if you love Halloween or old-time radio or just enjoy expertly crafted narrative podcasts, you're in for a treat. And then after the mid-roll, you'll hear, just for fun, an encore presentation of Octoberpod's own retelling of this horror classic. I'll be back on October 15th with our own Halloween special, The Satanic Rites of Frankenstein. And believe me, you won't want to miss a minute of it. Until then, stay spooky, mes amis.
Now Madison was working super hard on a makeup tutorial show. She was teaching smoky eyes to folks out there who really wanted to know when some freaky deaky science stuff only understood by nerds zapped her into old radio shows, the kind you might never have heard. Now she should probably be trying to get out, but Madison, she's having fun living an old-time radio life. Our explanation is done.
Madison is on the air.
Good evening, friends. This is Edward October from Octoberpod AM, the retro horror podcast for bold individualists. I am your host for this year's Halloween episode of Madison On The Air. Let me welcome you once more to the Inner Sanctum. You may recall another episode of this old-time radio show we featured in July. The original program was an anthology horror series, and what better time to bring it back than at Halloween? One of the show's first forays into the macabre was an adaptation of the Edgar Allan Poe short story, The Telltale Heart.
Short story? I thought it was a poem. Nevermore.
You're, thinking of The Raven.
No, the one where the guy killed his wife and sealed her up in the wall with the black cat?
That was The Black Cat.
No, you know, the one where the entire house falls down.
Fall of the House of Usher?
No, with the pit and the pendulum and the guy's in jail because no one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Okay, that's Monty Python.
What were we talking about?
The Telltale Heart, of which you are going to play the central character.
Really? Me? But aren't all of Edgar Allan Poe's narrators highly flawed, cruel, and near madness?
And some are alcoholic. I don't know why they thought of you.
Seriously? I mean, hey.
We'll catch up with you in a few moments, Madison, as soon as I finish setting up the scene.
You bring a bottle of vodka to one dentist appointment and everyone labels you an alcoholic.
Now to our story. This version was adapted for radio in 1941, and then we got a hold of it in 2024. So if it isn't quite the Poe story you remember, good. We still might be able to spook you. This telling is of a woman who could hear not only every sound on Earth, but, even things that don't exist. So turn down your lights, call in a friend or neighbor to keep you company, and listen to Madison Standish in The Telltale Heart. It's early evening. The sun is just setting behind a range of low hills. On top of the nearest hill is a huge, rambling building surrounded by park-like grounds. A road winds from its gates down to the little village below. Down this road comes a woman. She's tall, gaunt, her hair snow white. She's so busy with her thoughts that she doesn't see the petite, young blonde woman who sits along the roadside. She's just about to pass her.
Oh, good evening.
Sup?
Nice evening, isn't it?
Nice? That is a major understatement. It is amazing! Like Taylor Swift front row tickets sharing a plate of extra cheesy nachos with Selena Gomez. Amazing!
You don't say.
Girl, you have no idea what it's like to feel as if you've come back from the dead. Or can you? You look north of 50.
I have not come back from the dead.
Undead?
I'm very much alive and 46 years old.
Damn, I forgot how much older everyone looks in the past. Probably because kids start smoking at like 5.
Good day.
Wait, I'm sorry. Totes didn't mean disrespect. I'm just having a blog-worthy day. You know what I mean?
Indeed. How so?
Okay, get this. My name is Madison Standish, and I have a podcast, Madison On The Air. Ever heard of it?
Can't say that I have.
No biggie. We have a small but loyal following. Hi, everybody. Love you. And, watch the attitude, 2 years ago, I went into total deafness. Like out of nowhere. One day I could hear my phone alerts. The next day, all I could feel was the vibrations.
What a pity.
I know. A podcaster who can't hear? It's like dying. Or worse, like dying and knowing you're dead. I went to doctors, but they couldn't do anything for me. HMOs, ugh. Finally, one of them referred me to the doctor up on the hill there.
Dr. Adair?
Yeah. I was with him for 6 months, and now, hello operator, give me number 9. I can hear.
He cured you?
Straight up. Listen, like take a minute, clear your mind, and listen real hard. Tell me what you hear.
Nothing very much. The wind, the birds.
Birds, the wind, lame. Do you know what I can hear? I could hear the grass growing, the sap rising in the trees. I could hear the stars farting high above the earth.
Farting?
Okay, maybe not the scientific term, but stars are giant balls of hot gas.
Right.
Point being, I can hear things that no one has ever heard before. So, circling back to OG question, most amazing evening ever.
Yes, Madison, but I already knew why it was amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. I knew before you told me. See, I just left the place up on the hill myself.
For reals?
My name is Olive Sheridan. When I was taken there, I was blind.
Oh, I noticed your eyes were jacked, but I just thought that was old lady eye or something.
I'm only 46.
Hey, my generation will be blind by 30 with our entire formative years staring at screens.
In any case, we've both left the doctor's care today. And with night approaching, where do you plan to go?
Well, I've been thinking about that for the last couple weeks, actually. I figure I should go someplace sort of quiet until I get acclimated to hearing again. Like, all I can handle right now is star farts.
Did you have a place in mind?
From my hospital window, I could see an old sawmill.
Yes, it's deep in the woods, deserted. There's moss on the water wheel, and the door hangs open by one hinge.
Dude, you can see it from here?
My eyes have become as good as your hearing. You thinking of living there?
Well, if it's deserted, squatter's rights, you know? You want to come with?
Yes. Yes, I could do that.
Great! It should be just up this road. Come on! You know, between my super hearing and your supervision, we could help people, like superheroes.
Superheroes?
Or destroy people like supervillains. I could go either way. This way, Olive, up this path. I can hear the water that runs past the sawmill. Oh, and apparently it's frog mating season. Get a room, you horny toads.
Bossy. Oh, bossy.
Someone's coming.
Looks like he's looking for something.
Good evening. I'm trying to find my cow. Have you seen her?
Man, I hate it when you accidentally leave the front door open and your cow runs out.
What kind of a cow is she?
A brown and white one with a crooked horn.
Have you checked the local animal shelters for stray cows?
No, my field is just up the road. I thought she might have come this way.
Hang on. I hear her. Nope, that's still the frogs.
Frogs?
Wait, I got her. She's grazing in a field on the other side of the woods.
How can you hear her? That's almost a mile from here.
I have good ears. I'm like the bionic woman.
That field belongs to the squire. How did she get there?
You think someone took her?
It's the squire's land, but he's the richest man around here. Why should he have taken my cow?
Rich people stay rich by never spending their own money on anything.
Wait a minute. Yes, I do see someone with your cow. He's just leaving her.
You can see that? Right through the woods?
I have good eyes.
She's got eyesight like the $6 million man.
Why do you keep making those odd noises?
When talking about the $6 million man or the bionic woman, you do the sound effects. This is common knowledge.
Who's with Bossy? What's he like? Is he tall, wearing a brown jacket?
Yes.
I knew it. It's the squire. He's trying to steal my cow. I'd better go get her. Thank you very much.
Teamwork! Oh, I love it! You and me working together can totes help people.
I saw what he wanted me to see.
What do you mean?
He hates the squire because the squire is rich and he's poor.
Then you didn't see the squire with his cow?
He wanted to believe it, so I confirmed it for him.
So, instead of him taking responsibility for his own part in his cow getting lost, you gave him someone else to blame for it?
Sure.
That's very right-wing politics of you. Guess we're going super villains then, huh? Okay, not exactly a 5-star hotel, or even a motel off a 2-lane highway 100 miles from anything that could call itself a city, but it's quiet.
The waterfall dulls any outside noise.
Like a sound machine. Or one of those meditation videos on YouTube that you get all relaxed to, and then suddenly it bursts in with an ad for Dodge Trucks Ramped Up.
I like it. It's just the way I knew it would be, too. Dark and dank, the home of rats and spiders. We'll be happy living here with them.
Okay. I am not one of those girls who gets all wigged out over rats or spiders, but then I usually have a cat around to make sure they keep to their own side of the house.
I like them because they're like me. Rats see in the dark and spiders spin webs.
I get the rat vision thing, but gonna need some clarification on the spinning webs.
They trap and destroy life.
All right. Sounds like you got some plans moving forward from your hospital stay.
You think I'm evil, don't you?
I am not judging. You're talking to a girl who once got a report card that said, average performance on assignments, could participate more in class, probably evil.
Well, I don't think it's a good world. I was blind. Did anyone care that I was? No. I could never love people. In fact, I hate them.
Yikes. Maybe enroll in some anger management classes? Or cooking classes. Gets out your anger, and you go home with cupcakes.
What's that thumping sound?
I think it's a bird. Yeah, look, a sparrow flapping its wings. Aw, he got himself stuck inside. Poor little thing looks scared trying to get out of the glass window.
Is it hurt?
I think so. I'm gonna try and catch him so he doesn't hurt himself any worse. Come on, birdie, birdie. I'm not gonna hurt you.
You're scaring it more.
Well, I'm not a cat. Catching a bird isn't exactly in my wheelhouse. Ah, got it. Oh, looks like he injured one of his wings.
Here, let me see. Perhaps we can put a splint on it and heal it.
You know how to put a splint on a tiny sparrow wing? You moonlight as an avian vet?
Hand him to me and find a small twig I can use.
Okay, but be gentle. He's still really scared.
I will.
Olive! What the actual F are you doing?
Doing?
Blood! You just crushed the sparrow!
Why, so I have.
You killed it on purpose! The Audubon Society is gonna have your ass for breakfast. Do you think the Audubon Society eats eggs?
You think I did it deliberately. We all have some badness deep inside us. Even you. Here you are, ready to believe the worst of me, that I'd wantonly crush a harmless little sparrow to death.
Well, you did!
You know, there's something in your face. Something that wasn't there before.
Utter shock and horror?
Maybe we should both retire to bed.
Yeah, okay. But I'm going upstairs. You stay down here.
Fine by me.
Jeez, I gotta do a better job of vetting my roommates. It wasn't that she'd been blind, you know. I don't have any prejudice against differently abled people.
Of course. Why, I once saw you help a woman with her groceries, and she had brunette hair.
She really could have used some highlights.
So, you're upset that Olive killed the sparrow?
Well, Let's just say I'm not going to bring home any pets.
What did she mean, do you think, when she said she saw something in your face that wasn't there before?
I don't know. Her eyes are kind of creepy with that blue film over them, like some sort of vulture or something.
How distressing it must be for you after you were in such a good mood earlier when you left the hospital.
I know, right?
So, now you have to kill her.
What?
She's evil. You said it yourself.
No, I didn't. She said, "You think I'm evil, don't you?" I never called her evil.
Then she killed that hapless bird.
Yeah, but with the broken wing, it probably would have died anyway, so maybe she saved it from suffering?
You have to kill her, not because you want to, but in order to keep Olive from spreading hate and evil.
I could just move out.
She saw it in your face.
Saw what?
Death.
Maybe I just need to exfoliate.
Yes, killing her is the only solution.
Okay. Maybe in a couple days I'll... Now?
With her amazing eyesight, don't you think it would be easier in the dark?
I guess.
Go on, then. Go murder her in cold blood.
All right. Man, this post stuff is dark.
Well, friends, you still want me to go on with the story of the Telltale Heart? Very well. But first, please indulge me. There's a mysterious cassette tape on my desk, and I'd just like to hear what it is. Ooh, new Octoberpod promos. Let's hear what we've got. Octoberpod AM. Retro horror for bold individualists. Listen bi-weekly wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe to Octoberpod Home Video for true, true-ish, and classic tales of horror and the paranormal. New videos each month, only on YouTube. For retro horror of impeccable taste, listen to Octoberpod AM, wherever you get podcasts. You're listening to the smooth sounds of retro horror on Octoberpod AM with your host, Edward October, the best horror narrator. Guests, stay spooky, mes amis. Wow, that was weird. Tape must have gotten possessed. I hate when that happens. Octoberpodvhs.com. Horror is a great deal of fun, isn't it? Especially in October. Now back to Madison Standish in her version of the Inner Sanctum adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's classic story, The Telltale Heart. It's a little later that same evening. Madison is sitting in the upper story of the old deserted sawmill, waiting and listening.
Now I can hear her downstairs getting undressed. Oh, pulled a button off her shirt. Crossing the room, sitting on the bed. Wait, standing up again. Damn it, woman, would you just go to sleep? Okay, lying down. Not asleep yet. I'll be able to tell when I hear her heartbeat slow down. Ugh, this is not the capacity for which I expected to use my super hearing powers. But if I do kill her, I might still be able to get into the Justice League. Batman kills people, like, all the time. Oh, there she goes. She's asleep. All right, let's do this. Jeez, why is it when you try to walk quietly, that's when your footsteps sound like a herd of elephants stomping across the room? Although, fun fact, elephants have padding on their feet, so they actually walk with near silence. Why am I telling myself that? I need to shut up and concentrate. Let's hope you're a sound sleeper there, Olive. Wait a second. I haven't thought about how I'm going to kill her. Most women prefer to kill with poison, but they cleaned me out of all my good stuff when I checked into that hospital. I guess we're going to have to go with weapon of opportunity. Okay, here's her bedroom. Ooh, she's using an old sack for a pillow. I could smother her with that. There we go. Problem solved.
Who's that? Who's there? There is someone there. I can see you. It's Madison.
Damn! You really can see in the dark like rats.
I know you've come to kill me.
Yeah, I kind of have to. Hey, since you're up, could you hand me your pillow so I can smother you with it?
No.
See? It's this unhelpful attitude of yours that makes me have to kill you.
No. Please.
Ah, come on. Don't struggle like that. I'm stronger than you.
Stop.
Why does this feel familiar? Do you ever get deja vu?
Stop it.
Can't place it.
Oh, that noise. Do you hear it, friends? It's her heart beating, pounding, driving the blood through her veins.
You're enjoying this.
I host a horror podcast. I die for this stuff.
Speaking of dying, could you shut it for a sec? I'm losing my concentration over here.
You know, if you're going to smother someone, you have to keep the pillow over their face for at least 3 to 4 minutes.
Do you want to do this?
They won't let me.
This would go a lot smoother if you'd stop squirming.
Ah, her heart is beating more slowly now. Slower and fainter, running down like a tired clock. Yes, you can hardly hear it now. Just a faint, throbbing murmur.
Is she dead yet?
Yes, the beating heart has stopped. She's dead.
Olive, listen, I didn't want to do it, but I had to. Right, Ed? It was inevitable.
She was only interested in hurting people. That's why you had to do it.
There you go. Justifiable homicide. And that's why I'm not going to give myself up or confess or anything. Because I can still help people with my super hearing, which I'll start doing in the morning.
Where are you going?
Back to bed.
What about the body?
It's not going anywhere.
Don't you think you should at least hide it? What if someone were to come by?
At this time of night? To what everyone in town presumes is an abandoned sawmill?
I'm not trying to tell you how to do your murder, but I think body disposal should be handled sooner than later.
Fine. Toss her in the river?
She'll be found at first light. Don't forget the farmer saw you two together.
Oh, yeah. Bury her then, huh?
The ground is pretty hard this time of year.
Well, what then?
Don't ask me. That's your responsibility.
You were all about me murdering her, and now you won't even help me with the body dump?
Sorry. I'm just the host.
This how you treat people on your show?
No, this is how I treat you on your show.
Real nice.
Well, look around. What options do you have in this room?
It's too dark. Could you at least help me by turning on the light?
There's no electricity. It's an abandoned sawmill, and it's 1843.
A candle, then?
How about this lantern?
If it's not too much trouble. It's just a big empty room. There's no way I could hide a body in here. What? Are you getting impatient? I'm trying to think of something. Dude, you're making this harder by jumping and making noise on these old wooden floorboards. What is your problem?
The floor. Pull up the floorboards and bury her under the floor.
Under the floorboards?
Yes.
Nah, that'll never work.
There's a crowbar right over here.
I don't need a crowbar now. But where were you when I had to use that stupid pillow?
To pull up the floorboards. Like this.
Hey, those boards are coming up pretty easy.
Now, throw her body in there.
She's kind of heavy.
Fine. Hold the crowbar. There. Now put the boards back.
But those are rusty nails. What if I cut myself and get tetanus?
You're not going to get... All right. I'll put the boards back.
Ooh, that one's crooked. I don't know. It's not very convincing. The floor looks like it's been disturbed.
I'll kick some dirt over it. There.
Perfect. You do good work.
Oh, thank you.
could that be? There's somebody outside with a lantern. What should we... Host guy? Way to bail on me, Edward. Yeah, what?
I'm sorry. Am I interrupting something? I thought I heard yelling.
Nothing a new host couldn't fix.
Ah, I see. May I come in?
No. Who the hell are you?
I apologize. I haven't introduced myself. My name is Trent. I'm the town constable.
A cop? What do you want? Unless you could show documented ownership of this property and a legally filed eviction notice, I am not trespassing.
Oh, no, it's nothing like that. I just thought I'd drop in and say hello.
At midnight?
It's a weird time of night to be visiting, but I saw your light on, and I'd heard there were some strangers living out here, so I thought I might, well...
See if I was running a meth lab?
Just investigate the new arrivals. May I come in?
Okay. But make it quick. I want to get back to bed. Not that I need my beauty sleep. All of this gorgeousness was created from 3 hours a night in a combination of Starbucks and Red Bull.
I promise I won't keep you long. I'd heard in town there were strangers living here, but you're not a stranger.
I'm not?
You've been around here for some time, haven't you? Up at Dr. Adair's place on the hill, I mean?
Somebody's done his homework.
Yes. And your friend, where is she? Sleeping?
Friend? I don't have any friends. I mean, I have friends, just not here, in the 1800s. I got a ton of friends in the 2020s. They're just not, born yet.
Indeed.
What I mean to say is, I'm alone here.
You mind if I look around?
Knock yourself out.
Not that I should doubt your word or anything like that.
Hey, cops aren't supposed to trust anyone. That's part of your job description, right? Suspicious until proven unsuspicious?
Something like that. Well, certainly no sign of anyone else.
Told ya.
Yes, you did. Now, if you don't mind, I'll just sit down here for a minute and smoke a pipe.
I absolutely do mind. You're not just gonna come into somebody's house and light up.
Why not?
Because I don't want to breathe your secondhand smoke, 1840s.
Oh, I apologize. Is it all right if I just sit for a while? I've been walking my beat all night.
Yeah, but maybe not right there.
You don't want me to sit here?
The floor looks a little unstable there. You know, this is an old abandoned sawmill. Floor might give out from under you, and I don't want a lawsuit.
Well, it seems strong enough to hold me.
Okay. Swim at your own risk.
So, do you plan to stay here long?
Dude, the bouncing leg thing is super annoying.
Bouncing leg?
I can't stand it when people sit down and start bouncing their leg like that. I broke up with a guy in the middle of his cousin's wedding because he wouldn't stop bouncing his leg.
Bothers you that much, does it?
As it would any normal person. Yet I'm the one who ruined the ceremony.
Oh, I apologize.
What's that?
What's what?
It's like a throbbing or something, like a club beat.
I don't hear any noise like that.
How can you not? It sounds like when you live in an apartment and your neighbors start blasting music at 3 a.m. and all you get is the bass line.
Aside from the waterfall outside, I really don't hear anything unusual.
You seriously don't hear that beat?
It is late. Perhaps you're tired.
Don't condescend me. Maybe I am tired. Tired of your face. Ah!
Maybe if you just sit down and...
I don't want to sit. I want to walk.
You have gotten yourself into a state. Is there anything the matter?
Maybe that I have a cop in my living room at midnight?
Look. There's no need to get so excited.
I'm not excited. I'm perfectly calm and quiet.
I would say you're the opposite of perfectly calm and quiet.
I know what you're doing.
Doing?
Yeah, sitting there, pretending you haven't heard, making me listen to it, getting louder and louder.
I really don't hear...
All right, I admit the deed. I killed her. I killed her. Tear up the planks. Her body is right underneath you, under the floor. And that noise you hear is her heart. It is the beating of her hideous heart.
Hello, Dr. Adair.
Oh, Constable, hello. Well, did you find them?
Yes, Doctor.
Oh, I'm glad.
Some of my boys will be bringing the other one, Olive, along in a little while.
Bringing her? Something the matter with her?
Well, sort of. They were in the old sawmill by the river. Madison had evidently tried to kill Olive, but she hadn't done a good job of it. She nailed her up underneath the floor, and when we got Olive out, she was unconscious. She's still pretty weak.
I see.
And here comes one of my officers with Madison now. Over here, Roberts.
Yes, sir.
This is most distressing.
I understand.
Here she is, Doc.
Now, turn her around so that she's facing me. That's it. Well, hello, Madison.
Oh, hey, Doc. I didn't think they'd bring me back here.
Constable Trent?
Not now, Roberts.
Madison, why did you run away from here yesterday afternoon?
I didn't run away. I left. I was cured.
Cured?
Well, cured or not, I was over my allotted days for inpatient hospital stays, so hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back to next year when your benefits are set. Hit the road, Jack.
And tell me what happened to Olive?
Constable Trent!
Whatever you have to say, Roberts, it can wait.
That was wrong. I know it was wrong, but I had to do it.
You had to do it?
The host made me.
Host? What host is this?
Edward October, from Octoberpod AM. He said Olive was evil and was going to hurt people, and I had to stop her.
You know, it's strange, Constable. 2 women, both mental cases because of a sudden affliction. But while Olive's blindness made her hate, Madison's deafness filled her with love for all mankind.
Deafness? You mean she's deaf? But when you talk to her, she answers you.
Yes, she reads lips. That's why I had you turn her around so she was facing me. But she's stone deaf. She will never hear again.
Don't talk about me like I'm not here.
Now, don't get agitated.
I'm not deaf. I can hear better than everyone. I can hear the grass growing, frogs humping, stars farting.
Come along now. We should get you inside.
I even heard the beating of Olive's heart after I'd killed her.
Madison, Olive is not dead. You did not kill her.
What? I didn't?
No, you only thought you did.
Are you sure? I mean, I took extra care to make sure she was dead.
She's going to recover and be just fine.
Seriously?
Now, let's go inside.
Constable! Madison cannot be permitted to stay here!
Why not? She'll get the care here she needs.
But Olive Sheridan is dead.
What'd he say?
No, she's not. I pulled her out from under the floorboards myself.
Yes, sir, but then you went to town to report finding the women.
After I secured Madison with rope, yes.
Not that secure, sir.
What are you saying, Roberts?
She got out of the rope, sir.
So, what happened to Olive?
You dismembered the corpse? You cut off the head and the arms and the legs?
That's what he did in the original Edgar Allan Poe story.
But how did you even manage that?
We were in a sawmill.
I can't believe you did that.
I could still hear her heart beating, so I figured I had to finish the job.
Not for this episode of Inner Sanctum. No one was actually supposed to die. Oh, the censors are going to have a field day.
Well, what kind of horror anthology does Edgar Allan Poe and then ends it without a bloody murder? I'm sure that would have totally let the audience down.
But no one had to die. The Telltale Heart is a story of a person's guilty conscience getting the better of them. The point could still be conveyed if you just thought you'd murdered her.
But I don't feel guilty.
You killed someone.
You laid out a very rational reasoning for why she had to die.
I was just trying to keep the story moving along.
You're gonna need to tell that to the cops.
Edward October, we know you're in there.
I can't go back to prison.
I won't have to. Pleading insanity.
October, we'll give you one last chance to open this door, and then we're coming in.
I gotta get back to my own podcast.
He's making a break for the back door!
Robert, take your men around the back. Yes, sir.
Well, looks like we're ending this Halloween episode without a host. I hope you enjoyed our version of Inner Sanctum's adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. I wasn't exactly a Boris Karloff, but Sharon Grunwald got to die on our show again. Hey, Sharon! How many times does that make now?
5. 3, I was murdered. 2, I was the killer and put to death.
Always great killing you, Sharon.
Well, you write killer scripts.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. And a big thanks to Edward October from Octoberpod AM. You should definitely check out his show if you love horror. And happy Halloween! Inner Sanctum, also known as Inner Sanctum Mystery, is a horror anthology show which ran on the NBC Blue Network from 1941 to 1952. The original series had 527 episodes, but less than 200 of those shows have survived to today. You may remember our other Inner Sanctum episode from earlier this year, Till Death Do Us Part, which featured a host alongside the Lipton spokeswoman, Mary. This pairing started after 1945, when the original host left to serve in the Army. Our Telltale Heart episode was from the show's first year in 1941. Inner Sanctum boasts a myriad of amazing guest stars, including Boris Karloff, Peter Lorre, Burgess Meredith, Agnes Moorehead, Bela Lugosi, Frank Sinatra, and Orson Welles, just to name a few. Hey everybody, it's Madison. Thank you so much for listening. We are a super indie audio drama and are just starting out on Patreon. Right now, for $5 a month, that's only $60 for the whole year. We're offering exclusive content like the return of Madison's Mad Facts, Friday Trivia, access to Madison's blog, and behind-the-scenes stuff with much more to come. Link in the show notes. But we know subscriptions can add up. So hey, if you could just spread the word about our show, like on social media, that would mean so much to us too. Okay, you guys, thank you. And now, here's Jeremy doing his best Peter Lorre for our Halloween credits. Take it away, Jeremy.
Madison on the Air was written and produced by Chrisi Talyn Saje, with music composition and audio engineering by Jeremy Sage. The role of Madison Standish was played by Chrisi Talyn Saje. Our special guest host was Edward October. Other members of the cast include Sharon Gruenwald as Olive Sheridan, Jerry Kokich as Constable Trent, Scott R. McKinley as Dr. Adair, Bran Peacock as the farmer, and Jeremy Sage as Officer Roberts.
The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. True, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous I had been and am. But why will you say that I'm mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken, and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold, and so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him, and every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh, so gently, and then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, closed so that no light shone in, and then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman be so wise as this? And then when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously, oh, so cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning, when the day broke, I went boldly into his chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, and inquiring how he had passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man indeed to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my own sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and he had not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly as if startled. Now, you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was black as pitch, with the thick darkness, for the shutters were close-fastened through fear of robbers, and so I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on steadily. I had my head in, and was about to open the lantern, when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up from his bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still, and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I have done, night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or of grief. Oh, no. It was the low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it was welled up from my own bosom, deepening with its dreadful echo the terrors that distracted me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt and pitied him. Although I chuckled at heart, I knew that he had been lying awake since ever the first slight noise when he had turned in the bed. His fears had been ever since growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It's nothing but the wind in the chimney. It's only a mouse crossing the floor," or "This is merely a cricket which has made a single chirp." Yes, he has been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain. All in vain. Because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. And it was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow that caused him to feel although he neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until at length a single dim ray, like a thread of the spider, shot from the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctness, all a dull blue with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray, as if by instinct, precisely upon the damned spot. And now, have I not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over-acuteness of the senses? Now, I say, there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and quicker and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say. Louder every moment? Do you mark me well? I have told you that I am nervous. So I am. And now, at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of the old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet for some minutes longer I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder. I thought the heart must burst. And now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once, only once. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him, and then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and felt it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head, and the arms, and the legs. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber, and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I had been too weary for that. A tub had caught all. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart. What had I now to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. The shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled, For what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman come in. Welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man, I mentioned, was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search. Search well. I led them, at length, to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath reposed the corpse of my victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted of familiar things. But ere long I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears. But still they sat and chatted. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained definitiveness, until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice. Yet the sound increased, and what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observations of the men, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no, they heard, they suspected, they knew. They were making a mockery of my horror. This, I thought, and this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die, and now, again, hark, louder, louder, villains! I shrieked. Dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here. It is the beating of his hideous heart. Stick around after the credits for a brief word from some of our fellow indie podcasters, creators, and friends. There may even be some bloopers and outtakes as well. You have been listening to Octoberpod. Octoberpod is produced, edited, and directed by Edward October. The series co-producer is MJ McAdams. Logo and banner graphics by Jessica Good. Edward October illustrations based upon an original character design by Nick Calavera. Select still photography courtesy of Unsplash.com. Select music cues by Dr. Dreamchip, various stock music and sound effects courtesy of freesound.org. Music cues from Bigfoot Apocalypse and Thorax, theme from Octoberpod, composed by Nico Vitese. All other images and music FX cues, except where noted, are sourced from within the public domain. Watch Octoberpod home video on YouTube for new videos each month. Follow us on Instagram and on the dumpster fire formerly known as Twitter at OctoberpodVHS, and on TikTok and Blue Sky at Octoberpod. Or find all of our links on the World Wide Web at OctoberpodVHS.com. For business inquiries or story submissions, email octoberpod@gmail.com. If you enjoyed Octoberpod, we'd be very pleased if you told your friends about us. And comment with a 5-star or equivalent rating wherever you're listening. The man who spoke to you was Mr. Edward October.
South Africa, a country whose spectacular beauty and dynamic people are known the world over. But there's another side to our country, and one that is rarely discussed in the detail it deserves. Join me, Nicole Engelbrecht, on True Crime South Africa, South Africa's first victim-focused true crime podcast, as we go beyond the headlines, focus on the victims, and explore some of South Africa's most heinous, violent crimes. True Crime South Africa is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Shatsunami, a variety podcast that discusses topics from gaming and films to anime and general interests.
Previously on Chatsunami, we've analysed what makes a good horror game, conducted a retrospective on Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond, and listened to us take deep dives into both the Sonic and Halo franchises.
Also, if you're an anime fan, then don't forget to check us out on our sub-series, Chatsunani, where we dive into the world of anime. So far, we've reviewed things like Death Note, Princess Mononoke, and the hit Beyblade series.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and all good podcast apps.
As always, stay safe,
stay awesome, and most importantly,
stay hydrated.
I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
And I'm Kristlyn, I'm the daughter.
And together we are Family Plot!
The Family Plot Podcast, a show where we discuss history,
folklore,
true crime, and the paranormal.
Minus all the oogie bits. We are PG-13.
I'm almost 15 now.
Don't ruin the commercial.
Do catch us looking into special topics like
the origins of fairy tales,
Sherlock Holmes,
and the trial of Dr. Hyde and Mr. Swope.
Find out who Dad Man Crush is.
Or what happens in Krista's Corner.
But behave, you two!
So come be a part of the fam.
Available on Google, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Family Plot Podcast. Bye!
All right, back to it. This is Edward October reading for Madison On The Air. I'm going to give you 3 takes of each line, and I'm going to try to do each take with a different persona. So the first take, I'm going to try to imitate the Inner Sanctum host a little bit. The second take is going to be my normal Edward October podcasting voice, which sounds kind of like a cross between Paul Frees in The Haunted Mansion and Orson Welles selling wine. And then the last take will be sort of a more naturalistic, my normal speaking voice kind of take. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to this. You know, if you're going to smother someone, you have to keep the pillow over their face for at least 3 to 4 minutes. Oh, I forgot to do the last take. There's a crowbar right over there. No. Fuck me running. Fine. Hold the crowbar. Fine. Hold the crowbar. Strike those last takes. Because of the fucking plane. Not for this episode of Inner Sanctum. No one was supposed to actually die. Oh. Fucking airplanes. Fuck. I've noticed that the tighter the window I have to record, with no one else around, the less time I have, or the more limited time that I have, the more the planes and the background noises come. It's interesting. Interesting how the universe bends itself to fuck with one honest horror podcaster. Fiend, Dunsky.